Hello everyone, my name is Adreden, and today we're going to be talking about 7 Days to Die news. So Alpha 19's dev diary is already up. So Madmole and them are starting to think lightly about some of the things that go into that. Because of previous videos and reading comments, I'm not going to be responding to comments on the following topics. That is, the game is still in alpha, personal attacks, anger at the Fun Pimps, or the console status. The reason why is it doesn't help anyone, or I don't follow that aspect of the game. Anyway, so abuse of this will get your comment blocked on the channel, so please don't make me do that. Don't want to block you. Also, my channel has a bunch of curse word filters, so if you want to see your comment at all, be nice. Okay, so this is all we got so far. This is like a December update. So from this forum, I'm pretty much only going to be reading things from, the developers themselves, or, high-level moderators. So Madmole, Gaz, Fatal, Roland, these are all people who have got high-level privilege or are developers. I'm going to try to keep these videos non-partisan. Okay, so here Madmole is talking about how it might just be a smaller update, and he might start with a smaller one like the new combat book update, which could start the 19.0 alpha, and then working on other things, including a vehicle update, which would land up a little bit later, 19.2. And he wants to do this so that people have a couple more releases per year instead of just one big drop a year as it's been for the last few years. So some of the new books that he's talking about here are Tech Junkie, learn from MacGyver himself to build useful gadgets and common household junk. Grease Monkey, learn to modify and craft vehicles of all currently existing shapes and sizes. Bar Brawling, learn from the Irish legend Lucky Bastard himself and never get bested in a good old-fashioned barroom brawl. Spear Hunter, get connected with your inner caveman and master the forgotten art of spear hunting. So hopefully those books are kind of cool. They kind of probably round out a bit of having, just various little areas of the game. Vehicle update. Okay, so for this one, in a couple of overhaul mods, there's been fuel upgrades, and so that's the one thing that'll be kind of nice. Vehicle breakdown and collision system. Man, I really am hoping for this one. I was actually just watching a game recently that had some of this stuff included, and this is kind of weird because this is almost a bit of the opposite direction that the Fun Pimps have been going, in my opinion. There is another brand new game out recently called The Long Drive, all about basically driving during the apocalypse and maintaining your car, which I thought was really cool. And I would welcome you almost up to this level of intricacy, actually, even, but it's probably too tedious for some for vehicle maintenance, but just think about how tricky it would be to maintain a vehicle in the apocalypse, especially if it was a foreign model. Okay, anyhow, moving on. Player arms in third person will no longer be stiff while moving with one-handed tools. Fists or weapons instead of arms will move more naturally when they walk and run. That's going to be a pretty cool thing. And here we have new tools. Looks like they're basically just touching up and redoing some of the textures of these ones that they've already got here. Got the axe. Seem to be getting maybe back the old sledgehammer, and a pick / asd, and just the normal pick. Looks like they are working on simplified microsplat shader variant coming in 18.2 that will get 2 times the performance of the microsplats. Here we have Joel actually saying that he'd like to find a new way to stream paints so that you could have a lot more of them. He's not against us having more paint. So here we have someone mentioning zombie AI, but also bandit AI, and then Fatal saying pretty much they will be basic at first and later be more advanced as time permits. But this is later on counteracted a little bit by Joel. So anyway, yeah, basically he was saying that they would maybe spawn near the player's location, either start shooting, or if they were ranged, if they were melee, they would try to get at the player and attack them with the melee weapon, and maybe run away if they were hurt. But yeah, apparently that's kind of done probably, but we probably won't see it. So I wouldn't get too hyped about this yet, because I believe Joel later on says, to quote him, it says, "Sorry, but we're not shipping low quality crap bandits. We pulled them from the build once for that very reason." So yeah, odds are very good we won't be getting them right away. Previous to this, somewhere it says that there's not going to be any new crafting stations per se, except there seems to be something about this electrical stuff. An industrial forge has been planned for some time now, or for a while now. So it sounds like at some point, maybe this will get included in the scope of Alpha 19. I'm not really sure. So here's the flame trap from Alpha 16, and it looks like they might try to put this in as well. So far, these are the things that, you know, I wouldn't consider any of these things, yes, these are going to be in the build, but these are, lots of times I would say that these are more like little things that they are considering to look at. Considering this is like extremely early days of looking at Alpha 19, you know, this is sort of where they're probably doing artwork and considering their options of what to put in, considering what they didn't get put into Alpha 18 and, you know, can put into now Alpha 19, you know, a few months later. So anyway, we'll kind of see. So maybe we'll be getting the flamethrower trap. It says, yes, new combat tracks are awesome and will be added to Alpha 19. So that means a new music that is for combat. As a YouTuber, I probably won't ever include them, but you never know. So they updated their first post. They added this new super filling foods. So there's going to be new gumbo stew, shepherd's pie, spaghetti, and tuna fish gravy on toast. I don't think there's any other details on these yet. That's okay. There is news on the vehicle breakdown and collision system. And there's also new art. So here is the new stone axe. It's pretty good. Okay, so for this one, he's talking about the new critical injury system. And so as you get more and more damage and you don't have good armor, you have a higher chance of getting a critical injury. And the critical injuries, he says further down the line, are going to require you to get something special to fix them. They're, you know, like if you break your arm, you're going to need a cast, right? And so he's also talking a little bit here about the new vehicle damage system, and there's a bunch of posts about this along the way from, I think it stopped on like 42. If you get a flat, it's harder to control it and it's slower. Leaky radiator, you might need to stop to like cool the engine off. Bad battery, randomly won't start. I mean, that's kind of cool. I like it. It's got some more interesting things. I mean, sometimes it just won't work. I don't know. Bad engine, won't run at all. And then you're going to need parts to repair it. So I think that's pretty good. So repair kits for general damage, on-screen debuffs when you are in the vehicle, debuff hyperlink system. Click on the debuff, it opens the character stats page and highlights the debuff. Okay, yeah, great. And apparently there's no more micro damage for small wounds, no more tiny bandage spam, but more meaningful big debuffs to players from combat trauma. There's something more about that coming up. Yeah, so here's a bit more of the things about when a vehicle breaks down. He's kind of using an example of like if you were to drive it off something tall and then, you know, smash in the front end, and maybe you would need like a new engine or a radiator to get it going again. Part of it was, does he talk about the gyrocopter here? No. There's another point where he talks about the gyrocopter and saying that, hey, like, you know, you could, in theory, use the gyrocopter to land on the roofs of certain buildings, get, you know, the best loot, and then fly off, and without any sort of, you know, personal danger to the player. Yeah, so they want it to be kind of significant for the player. I'm just going to round up the rest of these vehicle-related posts. Oh, here's another one. This one is, I believe, by Fatal. It's between Fatal and Kane. So they had a bit of a discussion, I believe, about the gyrocopter not having a headlight, and then that just vehicles don't have a way to change the brightness of the light anywhere except so in Unity, where you'd have to modify the light in Unity to get it to change the intensity. But apparently this mod does allow you to do that. Just gives you, yeah, passive effect name, light intensity, and yeah, you just change it. So there. Here's the thing about the gyrocopter and about launching off the end. You might get a little bit of damage as it is right now, but if you were to have this critical damage, smashes into something, and then you'd have to fix it. But then he also goes on to say no minor damage, yeah, if you were driving your truck at full speed into metal, you should probably get some kind of critical damage, right? That makes common sense. If you drive into a telephone pole, your car is going to be a little ruined. And so, but he's trying to balance it out with, you know, saying that a few little things at 100% health, no damage, right? Like, you know, if you're in good health, been cleared by the doctor, you're totally good. You're not going to get any kind of damage, right? I think the same for your car, right? If it's in perfect working order, it's going to be totally fine. But I mean, who knows? We'll always see with all these things how they all turn out. And so a few heavy impacts would possibly cause the player or vehicle damage. He thinks it'll be interesting, so we'll have to see. There's also this part about carrying a bunch of parts with your vehicle to get repaired. I mean, my only rebuttal to this is that, you know, if you are driving around the world, these expeditions oftentimes do carry tons of extra equipment with them, just so that if they break down in the middle of the Gobi Desert, they can repair themselves, you know, or wherever they are. If you're like me, you know, drive to work, drive to the grocery store, most people don't keep almost anything in their vehicle. They might keep a spare tire and, you know, the related stuff for that. If you're in Canada, maybe like jumper cables, right? Like, it's not, we don't carry a lot of stuff with us because oftentimes we live in the city, but, you know, people who live a little further out start to bring a couple of extra things. And finally, I believe this is the last one where he just makes a little bit of a reply. But yeah, someone in his saying that the next thing we know, we'll be getting better at repairing vehicles by doing it often. And then he says, or by being a grease monkey. So I'm guessing what that implies is if you buy that grease monkey skill, you'll just get better at repairing vehicles. Okay, what's next of the new stuff? Okay, so he says he has a devastating uppercut book, which he needs to work out the details of, but, you know, that's apparently one of the ones coming out. So here he says that he is working on a legendary shovel that rocks at melee. Now, I believe this ties into this post. I'm not entirely certain, but we'll, you know, as more episodes of this come out, we'll find out. So we decided to go with more late game super weapons because I guess, yeah, in America he says chock full of hunting rifles, shotties, and pistols. In Canada, we're chock full of hunting rifles and I guess shotties. I own both of these guns, no pistols. Okay, so here we also have, I mean, may as well stay on the topic of weapons and such like that. So here he says he'd like to make weapons like firearms more difficult to find in the first 10 levels or so. So you might be able to find broken ones and salvage parts to craft one early game. It sounds like a bit of a step back towards Alpha 16 and like build around then, but we'll see how that goes. And I mean, you know, lots of this stuff, once again, I'll just reiterate, is just sort of their thoughts about what they may implement. So it's just sort of, you know, just letting you guys know what they're kind of thinking right now. I was also going to say that I wonder what other super weapons they have going on. I guess we'll see. So apparently this whole critical damage system isn't just limited to melee and vehicle accidents. It apparently also has ranged attacks. So that would be pretty cool. I'm guessing that means your gun backfires or something, or breaks in your hands and hurts your hand somehow. Or maybe like a big AK or M60 just like twists your arm the wrong way, sprains your arm or something. I'm not entirely certain, but I can see that being a thing because there is a bit of a concern about guns just being the main way to go when you get to the higher game stages later on. So that should be addressed, and hopefully it will. Here Roland talks about pretty much the same idea, where he's saying that it would be good in the early game to find low quality or broken items like guns and tools, and then if they break after like that, then they are, you know, if they're pretty low quality, tan or orange, then they cannot be repaired. So I don't know. I mean, lots of directions, and I mean, various mods do a lot of this kind of stuff anyway, right? For the modders, there's a smidgen of talk about moving to Unity 2019.3, and so who knows if you are into the Unity side of modding 7 Days to Die, that might be a thing by the time 7 Days Alpha 19 comes out, and we'll talk about the schedule tentatively for that later. It has been mentioned, so we'll kind of talk about that a bit. And just below this, of course, Fatal also talks about some more improvements to performance, added terrain at lowest and low quality, reduces shader layers blending from 2 to 3, so hopefully that does a little bit. And then he's talking a little bit about microsplat stuff, and that it's still being optimized so that it is a little bit better for lower end machines. Okay, so that brings me back over to some stuff about skill books. Here Madmole is talking about basically the current perks and attributes are done. They might add a couple more, but maybe not. He thinks it works pretty well with having a new character that has some strengths and weaknesses. But here he says it's more fun to start a new character that has some new strengths and weaknesses rather than just buying anything you want as you go. So there's also news that some of the minor perks are going down, the ones that are not related to combat, that is, from 5 levels down just to 3. Because he was saying that it was a bit tricky just to fill in all the little bits and details of what the ranks did. So now they're going to try to just have sort of 3 levels, and yeah, that should be interesting. So here he says he's thinking that scavenging might be a little bit more of the game, I think, and then a bit more, maybe some science. So we'll see how that goes. At this point, it's saying that they want to look at the memory handling of the tool belt and just, I guess, make sure that works, which might enable something that it would be something like, you know, if you have a couple spears in your inventory and you throw them, they get automatically replaced. So like if you throw one and then you get your backup one in your hand like immediately, instead of like throwing it and either moving left or right on your toolbar or having to actually go into your toolbar and move it back onto it, right? Just makes it possibly a little bit easier there. So that would be kind of nice. Okay, so some more gameplay stuff. POIs will continue to be upgraded or added. I think they are done with new world model art for now. I guess probably very few blocks will get added again. So I mean, there's been a lot of stuff added, considering if you like look at the little playgrounds and stuff, like those are probably one of the prime examples. But anyhow, now they say they're going to focus on bandit modeling, upgrading the trader art, and maybe the zombies a little bit. But we've already seen that there are new zombie works coming out, so there's some talk about like this supercorn. I think Joel has a certain idea of how the supercorn has been modified, because he's talking more about making glue and fuel from it, but it's not edible since it's genetically modified, which I think I wouldn't take this. I'm pretty well versed in genetic engineering, and genetically engineered food isn't bad for you per se, but it depends on how it's modified. From reading more, I think what Joel is trying to get is he's trying to say that it's been genetically modified in a way that isn't fit for human consumption. It's been more designed to allow you to get ethanol or something else out of it, and so that seems like the direction that he's currently wanting to go with that. Here he's also saying that they want to have like a icon archetype of what weapon a mod goes in on those square boxes, which is good. I'm going to go from my mod example instead, but let's say I take the spikes, the old spiked club model and have those spikes on a lot of different weapons. They're still all melee, right? I never put those on a gun because they just don't make sense much on a gun. Like, a gun doesn't generally have spikes, so especially ones that you hammered through the barrel or anything, right? That would just defeat the function of the gun. So anyhow, hopefully something like that works out. It'll be kind of neat to see. Here's finally a little bit of talk about the end game. And to me, this sounds a lot like what I would do and what Minecraft has done. You can kill a faction leader and it probably will roll the credits, but it won't end the game. Now, this is kind of just like if you were to kill the Ender Dragon, rolls the credits, but you can just hop back into your game and just keep on playing. And I think this is a good way to do it. That possibility to have an ending and then, but also keep playing is fun for a lot of players. Okay, so finally, a little bit of release possibilities are that 19 will be coming sometime like late Q1 of 2020, which means like April-ish. So we'll see. And for 20, they're saying the summer of 2020. So probably like August of it, I would assume. Yeah, and here you're saying, you know, that there's a possibility, only a possibility, that they'll have melee bandits first, you know, later on, and then ranged ones, depending on the programming of how they're actually done, might come out Q3. They are not quite sure, but anyhow, so just sort of things to look forward to as we go. We'll see how it works out. This is their development roadmap. They are, I guess, working on new books and perk reductions as I'm making this video, and new candies in some of the vending machines to reduce some of the food, but candy will boost attributes and skills and is not food, so it's kind of, I guess, little, yeah, interesting boosters. January, they plan on working on vehicle mods and critical systems for vehicles and players. February, the legendary items, so I guess this is the super weapons that they're kind of talking about. We'll see. And then in March, testing and balancing, and like I said, yeah, April-ish, right? That's sort of their roadmap. Okay, guys, if you want to head on over to this forum and talk about some of the changes that they have, yeah, this is the address right over here. It's going to be down in the comments, and try to keep it to things that they are wanting to include in it. There's another forum for like dream things, pipe dream things that people want. The Fun Pimps have pretty much heard everything and know what they want to put in to finish off the game. And so, yeah, try to keep it to just stuff related to Alpha 19, sort of feedback and whatnot for what they're talking about. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video and found it informative, hit that like button and share with some friends. If you are new to the channel and like what you see, wanting to learn more about 7 Days to Die, either how to play it or what's coming up, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in another video. Bye bye.